So under the terms of the agreement on the acquisition of the GE portfolio, there were three separate closings, three separate tranches. The significant portion in the first closing, about I think $1.6, $1.7 billion. That was around December 4th. And we had one just prior to the year end. That was approximately $500 to $600 million of additional closings. And then the last closing was really the assets and the portfolio that came out of Mexico and Brazil, and that happened just at the year end. You know, a significant process around consents, jurisdictional issues, as well as a variety of GDC requirements and approvals and documentation. So that took the longest period of time to get through and make sure that it was done correctly. And we're very happy to announce that we now have that embedded in the portfolio, and we're moving forward servicing those accounts and looking for opportunities out of the entire portfolio. One of the reasons we're so excited to have the acquisition of the GE portfolio, and I must add, the ability to add to our existing team, about 16 very experienced professionals from the GE team filling out the organization. It allows us to do a couple of things. The portfolio is filled with high quality credits and high quality assets. And as you can imagine, through the process of the downturn, many people, as we all know, held onto their assets longer than they typically would have. So we have an opportunity to service the existing portfolio and find opportunities for the current group who want to upgrade and are looking for financing solutions. We've already done that on a couple of occasions. We had an opportunity to do so before the closing, and we're now working on several opportunities to do that right now. In addition to that, the acquisition, of course, gave Global Jet Capital the appropriate scale. As I already mentioned, we now have a very robust team. We have an aggressive recruitment process on a global basis to add origination or salespeople, as well as underwriters and other areas of expertise to provide the infrastructure necessary to run the business. So we're going to also grow the business organically. And so we're looking for what I would call, net new assets coming in, as well as taking care of the existing installed base. Many people ask the question about, would we acquire another portfolio? We're fortunate in that we have the benefit of three world-class private equity companies, all of whom have got deep experience in the aviation space, and they're happy to support us in the acquisition of another high-quality portfolio should the opportunity present itself. So we are looking at those kinds of opportunities, and we'll be keen to move forward if, the right set of circumstances arise. So there's no shortage of opinions and forecasts about what's going to happen in 2016 and beyond. Everyone is reading with interest the news coming out of the manufacturers and what the variety of forecasters are saying. I think if we're candid about the last several years in our industry, I think it's clear that there was overproduction. And I think when you look at the large cabin and ultra long range cabin marketplaces, you can now look back over time and determine that overproduction perhaps lasted a few years more than it should have. And I think you're seeing the impact of that in this marketplace today. As we all know, originally at the economic downturn, people got focused on the light jet and the mid-sized jet, and to some degree the super mid-size, and saw that business fall off. Well, the upper end remained somewhat robust. Well, there's a limited and finite supply of ultra-high net worth individuals and corporate entities around the globe. They slowed down their digestion of new airplanes. They've operated these airplanes over longer terms, and they've also found that they get the very same utility out of a 6 or 7-year-old airplane that they might get from a 2 or 3-year-old airplane. So I think the cycle has been prolonged, and I think that the manufacturers are experiencing that right now. I would applaud those who are making aggressive moves to correct their production rates and the variety of product offerings that they have in the market. I do not think it's any secret to anybody attending this conference or outside of this conference that there's a correction that's required from that perspective and that it's underway. And I think ultimately that's going to be good for the industry. We're fortunate in that we still see an opportunity for in the neighborhood of $20 billion of transactions between new and near new airplanes. And so we're positioned to service those opportunities and compete with the other financiers for our fair share. With regard to the elimination or the lowering of sanctions on Iran, I think it's a good thing for the world that there's an open communication and dialogue that is now being created. I think that's healthy and appropriate. I think that it will be some time before there's going to be a lot of trade taking place, and I think it'll be quite some time before you'll see the business aircraft manufacturers selling any number of aircraft in volume in Iran. I think people will be thoughtful and prudent and go very slowly. And as you know, there is an opportunity should there be some reversal in the relations. If you do have an asset, in Iran, it could be potentially problematic to get your assets. So I think people are going to go very slowly and be thoughtful, which is the right way to go about it.